Welcome to the Explosive Strength Podcast with Jared Bidney. In today's episode, we're going to talk more about our squat ratios and our 40-yard dash times and our vertical jumps. So this question comes in from Thomas. Hey Jared, I have another strength ratio question in regards to the vertical and 40-yard dash. You've been talking a lot about the correlation between the 0.6 ratio and the 40-yard dash and the vertical. Also, how having cleaner squats with less flinging of the bar at the end of the movement to make the correlation much stronger. You've said that about 1.7 times body weight to 1.8 times body weight at 6 meters per second is kind of my ideal ratio with the box squat. I know you prefer the box squat, but what if hypothetically in a situation where I won't be able to squat a box squat because of lack of foam, pad, or injuries, etc. I know you say you personally pause squat with a safety squat bar. However, will there be a different readings with your full squat versus the box squat in regards to speed? So my question is, what would you consider to be an elite ratio relative strength for 0.6 meters per second for either the pause squatting or full squatting? I personally squat about 1.89 times body weight at 6 meters per second in the full squat. Do you think that's good level of relative strength, or do I need more because I can get more speed on the full squat versus box squat? I appreciate your time and sharing your knowledge, Thomas. Thomas, I try to pull out some charts here to kind of cover that. Years ago, if you look back on Instagram, I had this kid, he was squatting 425 and about 225 pound body weight. So he was squatting about 1.88 times his body weight, and that's kind of where your 1.89 is, okay? But he was only jumping a 36 inch vertical. He was running about a 5.1 to a 5 flat 40-yard dash. So although his numbers did not correlate to my box squat numbers because they were full speed, like I've said before on the podcast, I have moved 315 at 8 meters per second with the safety squat bar, and I'd go down to 275 with a box that is 0.53. Although sometimes, like I said on the last episode, people can squat more weight. I don't know why, sometimes on the box squat versus the regular squat. But it's harder to move the bar faster, I guess, because you're letting your kinetic energy dissipate at the bottom. So you're having a lot more neural drive by using the box squat. And if you can't, you have to pause because the whole point of having the box squat is to break up the eccentric concentric chain, which is the static dynamic method. We come down, we sit, and by having to sit and breaking up that energy or let some of the energy dissipate as it's stored on the way down, the box allows the energy to dissipate. That's why we don't touch and go. I'm gonna do a video of the flinging and flailing so that people can understand what a good squat looks like versus a bad squat. You also got to think, we also squat with an athletic stance box squat, which means we're a lot more narrower than most of the people out there that do conjugate training or whatever. I know Westside did wide squats, but you got to think they were training in briefs, they were competing in briefs or treating in multi-ply competition suits. So by having their feet wider, it allowed them to get the most out of that suit and squat more weight. But we don't have, as athletes, we don't have anything around us to protect our hips. So us going out wide and squatting low like we do, I don't think it's very beneficial, and it's too hard to even create starting strength off the box. But the biggest thing is, if you can narrow your feet, we'll do some videos. Thank y'all for subscribing to the YouTube. That's starting to grow. I'm gonna do some tricep exercises, just to give people tricep routines and overload, but I really want to do a video this week on the flinging and what a bad box squat looks like, where you can get a bad box squat, or if you don't know what the difference between good and bad is, you don't really know. But I'm gonna talk about the flinging, how people kind of cheat the tender, like what it actually looks like instead of just hearing me talk about it on this podcast. So you'll get an understanding of what numbers are. So you got some kids, like you've heard me talk about before, that will squat about 1.7 times their body weight and they're running a 4.9 40-yard dash. If they're squatting 1.7 times their body weight at 6 meters per second, they should be running anywhere between, if a 1.7 or 1.68 range should be about a 4.7 40-yard dash. If they're squatting 1.75 or faster, they should be running a 4.5, 4.6 40-yard dash. Now I do have, I don't want to get into it. Once they have reached those numbers, if I got a kid that squats 1.75 times their body weight and they are running a 4.9 40, there's no point in squatting more. That's not the limiting factor. The whole point of me squatting these athletes at these specific rates of speed and charting it over time is if I have 5 people that squat 1.7 times their body weight plus, and they're running a low 4.6, high 4.5 40-yard dash, I compile those numbers. So I know if you're squatting 1.45 times your body weight to about 1.50 times your body weight, you're going to run a 4.9 40-yard dash. I know if you're squatting about 1.61 times your body weight, you should be in a 4.8 range. So maybe a high 1.55 should be a 4.8 40-yard dash for a lot of kids. And if you're hitting those numbers and you're falling outside of those boxes, so if you're squatting 1.7 and like I said, if you're squatting 1.7, you're still running a 4.9 40-yard dash, squatting more is probably not necessarily the answer that what you have to do. That squatting at that rate of speed versus your body weight is not your limiting factor. So, you can continue to squat, and your 40-yard dash may or may not change. But like I said, that's what I'm trying to figure all this and have so many numbers to where I could put a chart on the wall at the gym. This kid runs this kid runs that. And so if I can squat if I squat 1.49 times my body weight, that's a 4.9 40. Jared, why am I running a 5 flat? Well, you squat 1.43 times your body weight. I'm trying to get these numbers dialed down to plus or minus tenth of a second off the 40-yard dash to where we know where we are. And if you're not falling in that range, I don't think squatting more is the answer, especially at that rate of speed. But if you're cheating the tendo unit and you are getting 1.6 times your body weight by flinging the bar, I don't really know what that is. So I need the cleaner squats has been a real big thing because it helps really, the limiting factors, it helps variables. Like some kids may come in and change their feet stance. Some of them may fling the bar. They may what I call kids, some kids coming in benching, changing the variable all the time on what he was doing. How the hell am I supposed to figure out how to help you if you change your variable every time you come in? So I tell myself I'm not going to get too far down a rabbit hole. But I think if you can squat 1.89 times your body weight, I would try to do it at a pause squat, because like I was trying to get on this rant, we box squat. Box squat allows for more neural drive. When we're training, we're manipulating the nervous system. So, the muscles can't fire without the nerves. So if I can create more neural drive, like you've heard me talk about in several other of the podcasts, I'm going to have more neurons pulling on that fiber. The more neurons I get pulling on the fiber, the harder and faster the fiber will contract. If I just do a regular squat where I squat down and up and I don't break up that eccentric concentric chain, I'm training more of the muscle and I'm not actually manipulating the nervous system. So a lot of stuff I do at the gym, people don't really get it when they come in. Hey, Jared, what do you do? And they see us squatting and they see they think we're using a box to squat down to depth when we're actually using a box as a tool, not a device, as to where how high or judge our squats. So Thomas, I think what you should do is pause squat, see how bad that number drops off. Pause, 1, 2, up, pause, 1, 2, up, and go over some. I'll try to get some more of this stuff on YouTube so you can kind of understand how we are and how we're doing these numbers. But the better we can push our squat, it helps our jump. So we go to squat, then we go jump, we work on our rate of force development through our jumping. Like we don't do power cleans. Power cleans are a waste of time for us. We are jumping with dumbbells. So we are learning how to move an external resistance at a certain rate of speed by jumping. The higher we jump, the faster we move. You can't jump high with moving slow. So, and jumping is a lot easier to teach, and we're getting faster 40-yard dash time. So if we can just come in, squat, jump, and they can go home, and I test them at the end of each month, I can usually get a tenth of a second off someone's 40-yard dash if they are pushing it right. So Thomas, what I would do, like I said, just go experiment and see kind of what you get out of that. So hopefully I answered your question, because I don't have enough kids at the gym that will pause squat and help me with these numbers, because sometimes you got kids and I don't have them for very long, so I'll do what works. I know the box squat works, and that's what's given me all these numbers through all this time. But I don't know basically what it is when I have people pause squat. I don't have enough people wanting to pause squat. A lot of times you got the fear in the kids. They get down, they don't want to pause because then I'll have to run into the issue. Why do you pause rep? Well, I want to make sure I got my rep. So they'll be worried about getting their rep, not pausing. Where pausing is the key, so it's a lot easier to get them to box squat. So I've got another question. Bernardo's speed and strength gym. And sorry, people, this was 4 days ago, so this is good. I had something that popped up in my inbox for like 52, 53 weeks ago, 64, like holy shit. And I turned on my computer and I got a different, I would never have seen this Bernardo's strength conditioning gym if I would not have opened up my computer and checked my Instagram through my computer. I usually just look through my phone. I don't know why all this crap gets lost, but so I'm going to answer some more questions this week. I'll probably do about 3 more podcasts. But hey, Jared, great content. When you calculate the squat to body weight ratio, I'm assuming you're using a box squat. Yeah. Okay. Yes, we always box squat. Our boxes are 12 inches high. Anyone that's 6'2" or less, we use a 12-inch box with a 6-inch blue foam pad. The blue foam pad I don't have, maybe can be almost as thick as your couch cushion. If you don't have a blue pad, you want to save some money, go to Goodwill. I'm going to redo one of my benches this week. You get a couch cushion or 2 or 3 or whatever. And I paid $27 for some fabric to recover some of my benches at the gym. Go get your pad and make your own box if you like. Be much cheaper. But you can use a couch cushion. I don't know if you have your own home gym, if you're in your garage or whatever, use a couch cushion. Use something, cut it up and staple it to a box if you need to. But for our 6'2" or less in height, body height, we are squatting on a 12-inch box with a blue foam pad on top of it. Now, Elite Fitness has changed the boxes over the years, so if you do buy the box from Elite FTS, it's now 11 inches standard. Used to years ago, the lowest setting was 12 inches, and that's how I started off. Everybody has a 12-inch box. So that's how I came up with that. And when I did raise the box from 12 to 13 inches, I had a kid that was running a 4.8 40-yard dash. I raised it from 12 to 13 inches. The 4.8 kid went running a 4.9. The next month, they were running a 5 flat. I said, oh shit, we're actually getting slower. He can squat more weight. So again, although he was squatting more weight, his 40-yard dash was going in the opposite direction we needed to, especially if you're trying to be as fast as you can. How now you're going to go from 4.8 to a 5 flat? Well, we increased the height of the box, he squatted more weight, but this more weight that we were squatting did not correlate to the better 40-yard dash, so I dropped it back down to the 12 inches, boom, back to the 4.8, then the next month ran a 4.7. And I've seen that done with several kids. I've even had some shorter kids that I've had to use the new 11-inch box from Elite FTS. And because these kids are you just got to figure this out for yourself. Some of these kids move to 11-inch box or 40-yard dash starts changing a little bit better. But I think they're about 5'8" or less. But I've even had some kids that are like 5'3", squat on a 12-inch box with a 6-inch blue foam pad, and they get faster at the 40-yard dash. So you never really know what you have, but if you have enough people and you track and you test these results over and over, you'll be able to pinpoint kind of what works for each individual over time if they're there with you long enough. You know, like you're all the time, everybody's not the same. No, everyone's not the same. But I try to start everybody off on the same road. As we get down the road, I may send them different directions based off how they're responding to the stimulus. We're not having everybody always do the same thing. So parallel blow player, if 6'2", it's a 12-inch box with 6-inch foam pad. If they're higher or taller than that, I will allow them to go up to 13 or 14 inches. So we usually just throw an Eleiko red plate on there, or I did have the red pad from Elite FTS, and we just throw that up under the blue pad. So for someone that's like 6'6", I've had 6-7 people squat with a 6-inch blue foam pad, the red pad, down to a 12-inch box. I got my boxes taped. The boxes I have are adjustable, but not at the gym because I've taped them with Gorilla Tape. to where the kids can't come in, adjust the height, and do what they want to with the box. So all my shit's taped down to 12 inches. The only way they manipulate is add an extra plate or another smaller box, a 2-inch box up under that to give the taller 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" people there. I got a kid that makes great strides at the gym right now. He's 14 years old. He's 6'6", 14 years old, and he uses a 6-inch blue foam pad with a 2-inch box. I don't give them a lot of variables to where, all right, 14 inches, this kid's this is. No, it's either this or that. We're either going to use an extra plate or you're going to squat. I've had years ago when I was training this kid to get ready for the Rams, he was 6'2". He squatted with a 6-inch blue foam pad off the 12-inch box. Went from 218 body weight to 235 pounds. Went from running a 4.740 to 4.540. I ran a 4.55, squatted 1.72 times his body weight at 6 meters per second. So again, that person hit that 4.5 range at that squat speed. I've had so many people do it. I just did bring some of that information home to really reiterate it with people. But hopefully, if y'all subscribe and click and stuff into YouTube, we're going to go over more of that in our video content that I'm trying to put out, maybe 20 videos per month on the YouTube. So I'm going to really start working on that. So below parallel, I don't pay attention. I just, it's either this box or it's that box. Also is the foam set to parallel. So they say, well, so usually our foam's pretty soft and they'll sink almost to the box when they squat. So Barneto's Speed and Strength Gym, it is just this or that. I don't really go into detail and worry too much about this. I set them off on this box. If they're 6'2" or less, let's see if we can get some results on your 40-yard dash. If you got 80 people and say 75 are getting better, it's a lot easier to manipulate 5 people instead of trying to worry about 80 people at one time. So if you just kind of use a system like that, boom, then the people that are not changing are not outliers. It's a lot easier. If everybody else is changing, if you're taking care of 80, 90, 95% of your population with that standard, and these other outliers are not quite making it, it's a lot easier to make adjustments and give those 3 special things because it'd just be a lot easier instead of having to worry about everybody all the time. You know, you'd be a hell of a workload, but if you're only working with 1 or 2 people, maybe you can experiment with that. But these are my findings with my complete laser 40-yard dash time. That way I'm going to have a consistent reading every month. We test in the same spot every month. We don't go to different fields. We don't have wind resistance or anything like that. So that's what we do. Anyway, hopefully I answered your question. I know I get off on some little tangents. All right, this message comes from Conjugate Strong. Jared, quick question. I was down at the Conjugate seminar last month and you had mentioned a goal of speed paired with bar weight. I want to say it was something around 0.8 meters per second at 1.75 times your body weight, correlated well with higher verticals. Do you have those exact numbers? Just looking for something to aim for. Conjugate Strong, I do not have those exact numbers. Like you heard me earlier in the podcast, I do look at 0.6 meters per second. I'll do a podcast later. I was up at West Side and I told Louis 8 meters is too fast. And he said, we always use 8. We always use 8, but over time, if you notice, they changed, instead of doing 10 sets of 2 or whatever on speed squats, they're doing 5 sets of 5. And he said this because now the athletes don't push as hard as they did back then, so he had to do something to manipulate the volume to maybe use the first 3 reps to pre-fatigue the last 2 reps so that they're trying harder. And by the time our conversation ended, he said, Jared, that's why we increased the percentages. He increased the percentages to slow the bar velocities down. 8 meters per second. The bar's moving too fast to create tension. You know, if you're trying to create strength speed, you have to have some type of tension. Speed, strength, the tension's too light over time. So if you're trying to increase a lift, you need to go for strength speed. If you're trying to create something like a performance thing, you need to do speed, strength. So it's 6 meters per second. That's do I have? Let me see what numbers I have for 40-inch verticals. Geez, so some of these kids, you got the 40-inch vertical. I got 1.7 ratio at a 41.9 inch vertical. I got a 1.65 at 41.3. I got as, where's this? Vertical. I've got a 1.8 at 45 inch. I got a 1.55 at 41. And I've got some even crazier things like a 1.32 at a 40. So usually about 1.55 or higher, you should be hitting up close to a 40-inch vertical. What was mine? Me, I jumped a 37-inch vertical at 1.43 times my body weight at 6 meters per second. I was 230 pounds, moving 370 at 6 meters per second. Give me a 37-inch vertical. So that was about 1.43. So I think anywhere, it's so hard to judge. I think here, if you're closer to 1.5 to 1.6, you should be hitting a 40-inch vertical. If not, that means they're probably not working on their jumps as much, because you still have to sharpen the skill of jumping to improve it. But if you have a kid that squats 1.59 times his body weight and he's jumping a 36-inch vertical, that lets me know that he's not been dumbbell jumping like he was or supposed to. And he said, Jared, I've not jumped in a while. Now, you can tell if he's squatting 1.59 times his body weight and he's only got a 36-inch vertical, something's crazy. When you got someone off the wall like this guy, he's got a 1.32, he's got a 40-inch vertical. But most of them are 1.70 at 41, 1.65, 41, 1.63 at a 40. So anyway, Conjugate Strong, I hope that numbers. I think if you're aim for 1.6 times your body weight, 1.65, you should be very close. So anyway, thank y'all for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope these squat speeds and strength numbers make sense. If not, email me. I'll try to go over it. I'll try to dig some more numbers out of the gym to see what I have. So when I come home, sometimes I'll get these messages. I need to go do a podcast, cover this. And I don't really have all my stuff. I just going off of what's in my head and off the little things I do have here. So anyway, subscribe to Explosive Mechanics on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram at Explosive Mechanics. I don't care about Twitter that much. But like I said, some of these messages get lost in my Instagram thing. So I'll try to dig through these, answer some more questions this week. I'm going to produce a lot more YouTube videos of exercise demonstrations. So thank y'all for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.